Hey everyone, my name is Catherine Naranjo, and this is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Otherness, Trauma, and Narratology. So the reason I chose Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince is it is one of the most important books in Harry Potter's journey. There's something for everyone. There's action and fighting, romance, and even death of some of our favorite characters. But all of these things work together to move Harry Potter's journey forward. And he has his first real hero moment in Half-Blood Prince, but we'll get to that later. So the first theory that I've chosen is Otherness theory. Otherness is present throughout the whole series, but it takes a new form in Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. So the first example is something light. Ron feels separate from the rest of his friends because he's the only one who hasn't been kissed. This turns into him pursuing kind of a less than emotional connection with Lavender Brown. Another example of otherness would be Hermione. She's always been the smartest one of her friends, and it keeps her separate from them. And then when Harry's better than her at potions, she feels like he's encroached on her territory. But I think the biggest aspect of otherness that you can see is Harry Potter's severe reaction to Draco Malfoy, as well as the other Death Eaters. In the very beginning, when the group comes to rescue Harry from his aunt and uncle's house, they all use Polyjuice Potion to disguise themselves and end up fighting the Death Eaters as they travel to the burrow. This is where we see the first death of Mad-Eye Moody, but also our first real distinction of us, the good guys, versus them, the bad guys. Later, when they get to school, Harry has an obsession with Draco, that he is working as a Death Eater even though he's still in school, that he has some sort of sinister plot going on in his mind, and it causes Harry's friends to be concerned about him because he's obsessed with the other. And then at the end, we see the question of, is Snape one of us, or is he against us? And it really appears that Snape has been fighting against Harry and the Order of the Phoenix the whole time, when he's the one to cast the killing spell on Dumbledore. So what this means for Harry Potter and for reading this book in general is that as we get closer to the end of Harry Potter's journey, we start to see the distinctions between good and evil, and they become more relevant. There's always been a difference between Harry Potter and Draco Malfoy, but now we're starting to see that Draco really is aligning with the people who are fighting against Harry. He really is aligned with Voldemort, and that could lead to something really bad. Not everyone is who they say they are, so we see that Snape has always been in a position of sort of one and sort of the other, and now it seems that he's chosen sides, and that the side he's chosen is the dark side. And in the end, this could mean life or death for Harry Potter as well as the rest of the Order of the Phoenix and those who are fighting for good. So the next theory that we're talking about is trauma. The first aspect of trauma in general is a fight or flight response. And we see Harry generally chooses fight in those situations. Like at the beginning when he's attacked by the Death Eaters, he chooses to fight. And for instance, his wand chooses to fight for him. But also, we know that in trauma, the more trauma you experience, the more prepared you are for future trauma. So Harry is constantly on edge, constantly expecting another bad thing to happen, and which is why he chose Hogwarts to be his sanctuary, starting when he found out that he was a wizard and he went there the first time to escape the abuses of his family, and continuing all through this series. Hogwarts really does become a safe place for him. overall he stays vigilant, but he does feel safe there. And the problem is that Hogwarts is no longer safe. Once Dumbledore dies and the Death Eaters take over, the sanctuary that Harry Potter has created for himself, it doesn't exist anymore. But that also leads to our third theory and Harry Potter's big moment as the hero in Narratology. So the second half of Half-Blood Prince and really leading into Deathly Hallows, we see Harry Potter beginning the true hero's journey of mythology. We see him at Hogwarts, which has become his ordinary world, and his call to adventure is Professor Dumbledore leading him to find the Horcruxes. He is confused and frightened at the beginning, which lines up with refusal of the call, but he knows that with Dumbledore he's safe, and Dumbledore says the same thing to him, that because they're together they can accomplish what they need to. The first threshold is arriving at the cave where they believe the Horcrux to be hidden, and the first test is when they have to cut their arm open to enter the cave. Getting to the inner cave, which is the next step in the hero's journey, is when they cross the river. And then Dumbledore drinks the potion, or the poison, and that is the supreme ordeal. Harry grabs the Horcrux, which is seizing the sword. They have to encounter the Inferi on the road back. When they get back to Hogwarts, the resurrection period really is the fight at Hogwarts, where they witness their friends and family fighting against the Death Eaters, as well as when Snape ends up killing Dumbledore. And naturally you would believe that the locket is the elixir, that the Horcrux is the ultimate prize at the end of the journey, but really it's the strength for Harry Potter to continue on, the lessons that he learned along the way, and the preparation for obtaining the rest of the Horcruxes, and ultimately, hopefully, defeating Voldemort in Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. So, between Otherness, trauma, and Narratology, the Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince has a lot for us to learn, and a lot for Harry Potter's journey as well. Thank you.